Today on Talking Business, I'm surrounded by luxury cars, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Gibraltar's history and 150 years of Capurro. So welcome, Luis, Stephen, Arturo. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So 150 years, what an extraordinary milestone you're celebrating this year.
To be honest, it's incredible how the years have gone by, and in a way, it's an opportunity to look back at our own history, you know? And it's been an interesting journey.
Definitely, but tell me a little bit more about the family history. I mean, we're going to talk with Stephen and Luis about the business itself and what it's like to join a business that has, you know, that longevity. So tell me a little bit about what that's like for you, Luis.
Well, I joined the company about, this year would be 30 years ago. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought I would have been celebrating an 150-year anniversary on a Gibraltar business. Didn't know that much of the Capurro Group when I started, but with the time and efforts and energies that we put in at the beginning, we evolved with the business and became part and parcel of what the Capurro Group of businesses represents today.
Great. And Stephen, what's it like for you to represent a business with a reputation of over 1.5 centuries?
No pressure, as they say. Obviously, a huge amount of responsibility attached to it. For us, it was important that, when we did join the business, that we would sort of take on nurture the business, develop it, and prepare it for the next generation of the Capurro family, for them to then sort of do their own thing and push it forward.
Probably, I think that when we were young 30 years ago, we didn't really realize, we had our ambitions.
Still young, though.
Precisely. Well, I'm still you were focused in trying to do business, and I think it's as we've grown and we've now it's 30 years together, and the fact that it's 150 years later, you suddenly stop and say, wow, the business is 150 years old. When you're young, you just want to do things, you want to develop the business, you want to do things in life.
There definitely is a bond also. I mean, I think you can tell that there's a good, strong bond, not just in the business, but also between you personally.
I think it's crucial,
Absolutely.
whether it's the management team or all our members of staff. We are a big family.
Yeah.
So we employ 100 people, and we genuinely feel that we are friends, and we act as friends, and we take responsibilities of friends for the good of not only the business, but the people that work in the business.
Yeah, to some extent, it's sort of been a way of life for us. When you're part of a much bigger organization, you tend to become one of many. When you work for a family business, everything's a lot more personal. You have a much tighter bond with the people that work around you. And with Luis, when we kicked off 30 years ago, I mean, we're like two peas in a pod, really. When we kicked off, we were young, we're ambitious, we wanted to do things. And when we came across to work with Arturo, we found, things needed changing, so on and so forth. But, the journey's been great. We've had a lot of fun.
One of the main points why we've been able to stick together, apart from the friendship that we've developed, is the values that we found that the Capurro business had, which Arturo has carried on with the family values that he inherited and put it through the organization and through ourselves as well.
Personally now, Arturo, 1876, company was founded by
my great-great-grandfather.
Yes.
In 1876. And like most Gibraltarians, we immigrated to Gibraltar. He came from Genoa, and I guess because it's 150 years ago, he was ambitious. Obviously, he was an ambitious person.
Yeah.
He tried to do business and started the business initially with the supply of coal in the port of Gibraltar. And then from there, he moved on to shipping, insurance, and many other business ventures that some of them we've learned as a result of Richard Garcia, he offered to produce a book commemorating the 150 years, and we were shocked. We've learned a lot in that process. How on earth he gets so much information from the archives, no? But it's been fantastic. And so yes, not only was it the supply of coal, and insurance was a business that he started very early on, which my sisters now own and run. But he got into many other ventures. Some carried on, others with time changed. And so yes, he was a very active young man when he started the business.
Arturo, through the book, we've also been learning through the history that he's been, the group of family, or the family business, has ventured into different sectors. But as the way as Gibraltar has been evolving itself as well.
Yes.
Some opportunities were successful, others were less successful, but always with a mind of trying to get the most out of where Gibraltar was at that period in time.
Which I think it's very much what I think we all Gibraltarians have. It's our DNA. Whether it's we adapt with time, we adapt with political challenges, and I think we've had a few. And that, if there's a guarantee of Gibraltarian business, is our ability to adapt, to foresee, and to look at new opportunities. And I think that now with the treaty having been done, even though we've had quite a number of years of instability, it shows how the Gibraltar business is resilient.
Yeah.
And so is the political establishment in Gibraltar, no? Because yes, businesses are important to be resilient, but it's also important that our politicians always manage to get the right deal or positive deals for the benefit of Gibraltar generally.
Definitely. And I almost feel like the story of Capurro and the story of Gibraltar have a lot in parallel in terms of all the changes. Talk to me a little bit more about the struggles that you've had or you've experienced in the business throughout the time that you've been here. Stephen, for example.
Well, look, 30 years ago, I think, the company was in a very different situation that we currently enjoy today. The brands at the time we represented were very different. The products were very different. The local market was very different. And the landscape outside of Gibraltar was also somewhat different to what it is today. So, with a lot of hard graft, a lot of common goals and so on, we've managed to work hard and sort of, turn things around. I think it's sort of visible for everyone to see, particularly those who have been loyal clients of ours for decades. They've witnessed the huge change that we've undergone. So look, again, like with everything in life, it's all about, teamwork. We've been blessed with having a great staff complement that have helped us in the journey. So yeah, I mean, it's been a remarkable change, to be honest.
But obviously there's a formula, right? Because not all businesses can withstand all the economic and political changes. So there must be a formula. What would you say is the sort of secret sauce you would find here?
To be honest, I think that Gibraltarian businesses generally have that secret formula. And that's resilience in when we have challenges. For example, when we started was a few years after they opened the border.
Yeah.
So we had, prior to the opening of the border, there were many years where a lot of Gibraltar businesses were surviving as best they could. So we were fortunate that when we started, it was a few years after they opened the border. So it was like opening ourselves again back to the outside world.
Yeah.
So secret formula, I think it's consistency, it's believe in what you do, and
being adaptable.
Adaptable, ambitious. Yeah. But I think that these are all the traits we have generally in Gibraltar.
Yeah.
And one thing that I always find that we do very well is develop good relationships.
Yes.
With our suppliers, with our clients, with the people that we come across. It's a business relationship, but we end up becoming closer to them. And they end up being partly sometimes a friend.
Gibraltar, to be honest, in a wide variety of sectors, fortunately has always punched way above its weight.
Yeah.
And I think, particularly in our sector, Gibraltar's always been synonymous with as a hub supply point of cars. We've everyone's been delivering cars all around the world, you know. So in that regard, I think we have the expertise locally here. We know that we have the know-how, and you'd be surprised. You know, we take these things for granted, but for example, you get a retailer in any other country in the world and you say, can you put this car or deliver this car to another? They wouldn't even know where to start.
Right.
So that I think is something that, you know, Gibraltarians are typically very entrepreneurial, you know, and because we need to grow, we have to grow outside Gibraltar. That's really the only option we have. So it's a case of, if you really want to do this, you've got to get out there.
The big plus was when we were appointed global partners with Jaguar Land Rover.
So Jaguar Land Rover became a brand that you now represent. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means for Capurro?
Jaguar Land Rover, realistically, if we look at the past brands of what today is Jaguar Land Rover, it goes back to the Austin Motors, which we started representing in the 1930s.
Wow.
So our relationship through the different companies and brands goes back many years. But even with Land Rover, our relationship started in 1948.
Wow.
So obviously there's an advantage when you try to negotiate partnerships and relationships with manufacturers that you've been their loyal partners for many decades. And obviously, I believe that culminated in us having the contract with Jaguar Land Rover to be their official partner in diplomatic sales worldwide.
So you built that relationship. I think, Stephen, you were the one behind building that closeness with...
I'll tell you a little secret.
Go on, tell me the secret.
The secret is that I remember one of the trips I was with Arturo in the UK, and you know, we were pitching for the business.
Yes.
And Arturo was we were outside the building, and he said to me, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Arturo, I really don't want to do this." And he says, "But we have to do this, isn't it?" And I said, you know, he gives the headline news, but then I understood, you know, the repercussions of this, you know, and the amount of work that you need to do, particularly so because on the diplomatic side, we're dealing with unique customers every single time. You're having to find those unique customers all around the world. So I knew the workload behind it, and I knew all the systems that we had to build behind it, the team we had to put together, and so on. But of course, Arturo went
I don't want it anymore.
I want this, and I'm like,
But was it worth it? But was it worth it?
And truth be told, and you know, the amount of times I've gone back to him and said, Arturo, you were right.
Yeah. But you got the diplomatic sales for JLR, which was a massive point for you to achieve. Like, you got to this success, and it wasn't easy either because you had to compete for it almost. How important do you think that Gibraltar is reputationally when it comes to business and maintaining that reputation as well?
I think it's critical, whether it's in the car business or the finance center. No, reputation is everything.
Yeah.
And I think that we're very fortunate that in different sectors of the Gibraltar economy, we've got very good ambassadors, whether it's the financial services, insurance, gaming. So we're blessed with a lot of businesses in Gibraltar that are all promoting and making sure that our reputation internationally is great.
We're in an English law legal framework, also banking sector as well, English banking sector. So that has also helped.
Huge.
Yeah, I think that the more businesses, especially now with the treaty, the more businesses that go out there, which a lot of them do, and promote Gibraltar, that can only be good for us. And with the treaty, that opens new opportunities, and we have to be brave and seize the opportunity and take Gibraltar to that next level.
To the next level. So one of the things that I've observed through my time also knowing Capurro and the business is that it feels almost like you're consistently elevating the level of the whole experience of buying a car, the level of cars that you're bringing to Gibraltar, the whole client walking through the door to the moment they drive out. How do you feel that that has been developed in the past, say, decade?
A lot of hard work.
Well, hard work. We enjoy it, but it's hard work. But the reality is that you sell a product, you sell a beautiful cars, whether it's Mercedes-Benz, Range Rovers, or and as much as those cars are fantastic cars,
Yes.
ultimately you're selling an emotion. Yeah, it's an experience, no? And I think that it's important that we're lucky that we have customers that buy these cars, and we want to genuinely make something special out of it. And it's not just selling the car. That's the beginning of the relationship. It's been there if they have an issue, and obviously sometimes they're not happy, and you prove to them that it's not just about selling a car and off you go. It's about looking after them throughout the journey.
Yeah.
So hopefully, after a few years, they'll come back to us because there's a real relationship, and not just on the car, but on a human level.
Yes.
And we see that in Gibraltar, our client base is quite loyal. And so you're saying, apart from the Land Rover and Jaguar products that we represent, Mercedes-Benz has been very successful in Gibraltar. Between Mercedes-Benz and Land Rover, we got a big chunk of the luxury market in Gibraltar.
And that's an anomaly because, you know, when we travel and we go to conferences or we go to, you know, dealer meetings or whatever, you know, you talk about the market share that Gibraltar enjoys at the premium level, and we, again, you know, we enjoy as a small jurisdiction a huge proportion of the market, which shows the level of, you know, the purchasing power of
Precisely,
of
that's
people here,
it's the demographics.
Exactly.
We're fortunate that Gibraltar PLC and the government,
Yes.
we've managed to, we have a very good economy, and having a good economy, people earn good money, and that allows them to buy quality products like with nice holidays or whatever it is. No?
Yeah.
The bottom line is that we're fortunate to be in a market where generally the standard of living is quite high.
But we always push it and think outside the box. That's why, because although we've been successful in our Gibraltar market, we've looked outside Gibraltar, which is partly what the treaty, I think, is going to bringing stability to Gibraltar. It's going to make other businesses as well look outside Gibraltar.
Yeah.
Part of our investments, like we've invested heavily on the Land Rover side. We now have another tranche of investment that's going to go for the Mercedes-Benz side. We've been waiting to see where we end up with this treaty before embarking on that next stage, which will be an interesting one. Okay.
I mean, the bottom line is that for a decade, we've lived through a period of uncertainty because obviously there was a negotiation happening, which for business has an impact, and it's not a good one because taking risks is not the same as a calculated risk.
Yeah.
Because in business, if you all agree, some element of risk has to happen in order to grow. What do you think it feels like now? Do you feel excited? Do you think that, you know, all of this certainty at least is going to bring some level of excitement to Gibraltar?
See, from a business perspective, I believe we have opportunities. We have the potential, the opportunities, but also stability, not just for us Gibraltarians, but also to the many thousands of cross-border workers that haven't, you know, there's been a lot of instability for us as a business of them being able to come to work to Gibraltar, and for them, for their own stability in terms of employment. So,
and for us, you know, from a business perspective as well, particularly the type of business that we do outside of Gibraltar into Europe, I think, ironically, the bigger the alignment with Europe, you know, the better it is for us. You know, before Gibraltar was always outside. I mean, we're not part of the full customs union, but there will be some sort of alignment with it, a bespoke alignment that helps the products that we, you know, send back into Europe. So from that point of view, it's going to make our lives, you know, a lot better. So.
Again, as I was saying, it's having stability and knowing we now have a bigger panorama of what can happen. And once we digest the change, because that change will bring some change pains, but once that has settled, I think it will bring bigger opportunities for Gibraltar-based businesses.
Sure.
And obviously this is a family business. So what is it like to maintain a good balance between working in leadership roles in a family business because your children have grown up or are growing up as we speak, seeing how the business evolves and now joining, no, Arturo?
Yeah, and no, and it's good that they learn the values, they learn work like any young person, no? And the fact that they have to report to management like any other employee is great, no? So they have their responsibility and they need to deliver like everyone else, no? Ultimately, it's about you come to work to do things and to look after customers and
so there's a value in learning from the bottom.
Totally, no?
Totalmente.
At
Say it.
least not many family businesses have a fifth generation joining.
Yeah.
Which is tough, but that just shows that the values that most probably Arturo Maria Capurro had at the beginning have carried on through the generations.
Yeah.
Definitely, my father was tough.
Okay.
I didn't have an easy ride. No? He was very disciplined, and particularly, I think that the fact that he knew whether it's me or my sisters, he would be very strict and at what time we got to work, and we knew that he was looking. And the fact that he did that today, I appreciate how strict he was with us.
So what do you think, apart from the initiatives that you're running for 150 years, which I see you're doing a lot of, you're collecting stories, what has this year meant for you and the celebration specifically?
As a business, it's what we're doing. It's basically commemorating the fact that we've been here for 150 years. As a person, it's a bit daunting. No? It's like, okay, so we are one of many other people that have, and it's not just family, it's family and employees that have been here working for the last 150 years. So it's been interesting, especially, as I said earlier, the fact that we're doing a book, and Richard Garcia has been able to get so many stories about the business. It's also learning about our past, our present, and that will allow us to also, we can use that for the future. No? So the reality is that business, we open tomorrow and we carry on working.
I'd like to know a little bit more about what advice you would give your younger self, because you talk about your children and how they are now filling the shoes of the future. And I think that's across the board, not just within the business here, but your children, Luis, and yours, Stephen, also. What kind of advice would you give them when they're starting their own professional paths? And probably even what advice would you give a young person who's going into business?
Whoa.
Perseverance, I'd say perseverance, discipline, belief.
And then be consistent. And consistency sometimes might be boring, but with consistency, you go along that path that then will allow you to have opportunities. Those opportunities that come across are the ones that sometimes are the little cherry on top of the other business.
Nothing comes easy, I think that you have to have consistency, believe, and you can try, and an idea might not work, but that doesn't mean that you should get encouraged and try other things. No?
Be ready to accept that things are not going to go the way that you want them to go, and that you will make mistakes. But as long as you can learn from making those mistakes, it's good.
Yeah.
Because it's happened to us where we've hit wall after wall after wall. People from the outside have most probably never seen that. We internally have, and the internal motivation that we've had to continue internally.
It hasn't been easy, no?
Yeah.
I mean, I love that, because I think that is probably part of the resilience part of this success story, because obviously being here for this long means that you've had to overcome a lot of those hurdles. And just to sort of wrap it up, what do you think Arturo Maria Capurro would say if he was sitting here with us today? What would surprise him the most about the business today?
Good one. Probably the fact that 150 years later we were supplying cars to taxis, something that he looked at back 150 years ago. and the fact that we're still going strong. I think he started something that not just us, but whether it's other parts of the family, whether it's Capurro Insurance that is still going strong with my sisters, it's something that we've benefited. Yeah, I think we've benefited from his work, you know? And it's also been grateful to what they have done.
So thank you so much. This has been a real trip down memory lane, and exciting to see what the future holds here for Capurro. Yeah. Thank you for joining me, Arturo, Stephen and Luis.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for the interview.
So I'm very much looking forward to seeing all these celebratory initiatives running through Gibraltar in the next few months, celebrating 150 years of Capurro. But most of all, I enjoyed hearing all about the business journey, and thank you so much for watching.